Hi, it's Martin from Martin's Engine Services. Here we are on day 3 of Operation Transit. As you can see, I've made a lot of progress today. Well, there's a nice shiny red oxided parts. And I got stuck into the welding yesterday afternoon and got quite a lot of it done actually. I've just finished a few bits off today and I've been doing some other work on it. I made up a new plate to go here where this one had actually rotted away completely, which is over the pocket for the prop shaft mounting. And great design is that Ford's basically leaves the ends open. This one actually stopped about here, which is similar design to the one further back. And of course the water goes in and fills the pocket up. I just carried the plate on through. I have spot welded this on all the way around because it was originally spot welded, and therefore that's a perfectly acceptable repair. So I will seal the joint thoroughly over here to make sure the water can't get in again. I had to put a small patch in the back of the cab here. I just carefully tacked a little lip, and the lip had just gone there, so I just tacked a little plate in there. I didn't want to go too mad and disturb all the inside of the cab and all the nice clean floor inside. Similar situation here, just a little bit of along this lip, just blown through in a couple of places. So again, I tacked the plate in. And down there's the triangle in the corner, where it had the hole in. I've just made a plate up, it spots along the top, and I've seamed it to the edge of the original one. Again, I didn't want to disturb the nice factory finish on everything there, because it's all originally spot welded and that, so I just carefully let a section in there. I did do this one on top of the tank mount, as I said I might do. I just cut it out. It was very clean underneath, just put a little plate in there, and that solved that problem. So that's all done. Giving everything a really good grind up and a really good clean up, and had a good look round and did a few others. There are a few little bits and pieces that want cleaning up on the back of the chassis, but I can access those obviously because the centre floor here just bolts in, so I've got great access to those in the future. Moving around to the other side, no major repairs on this side at all. Again, just a good clean up of the brackets and round a few grotty bits, and I did let a plate in the top of the chassis here. I didn't bother putting the hole in from factory because it's only going to encourage the water to go in, and that hole there I will cover over. A lot of these I've just basically taped over. I fill them up with wax and tape them over. Possibly going to have to do a small repair on here. I'm not sure. There's a couple of little bubbles in there, but I don't know. This triangle was done a few years ago, so that's all fine. But otherwise, back of the cab is phenomenally clean. There's a little tiny bit here that I de-rust from time to time and touch in each corner, but I can't really see any point in doing any major welding to this and disturbing all this just for those couple of little scabs. So that's basically put everything back together in here that needs doing, and I'll give it one more good dose of red oxide and then I shall paint it all up. It looks rather nice actually. I've cleaned the chassis off, cleaned some of the mud and bits and pieces off, so it looks rather good actually. I'm very pleased with progress. As I said yesterday, I'm absolutely amazed at how little there is actually needs repairing in there. Given what the old transits go like, and given I've never been able to maintain that part of the chassis before, I mean the rest of it I give a yearly clean up, de-rust, paint all the way through, and haven't done it for a few years, but I normally paint all the axle and the springs and all the front suspension. Even the brake pipes have been painted at some point. Prop shafts have been painted, and I just try to keep the old go in good order. I've also been making the cross members today, just moving over to the other workshop. As they say, here's one we prepared earlier, and here are the two of the replacement cross members. The third one I've got to make yet, which will be slightly different. I've cut the ends of the box section or the shelving down and just angled them down each end, so when the side rail comes on they don't hang down under the side rail. Then I can seam weld them up and the water can't get in. Previously, they just cut them at an angle, so all the water went straight up inside and rotted them away. One thing about the construction of these shelving sections is the fact that they are two sections pressed together, and this is actually an open seam. Well, it's not quite open, but it goes into like the pocket, if you must, of the one inside, and what tends to happen is the rain and the water and muck will get in and create rust in between the two layers. These were a pretty good condition actually. I've cleaned a few little bits of surface rust off, and before they go in, or once they're in, I will seam seal these joints completely, seam seal them all the way along thoroughly, so there's no chance of any water getting in there. And as I said yesterday, I will drill in several holes along these here, and I'll be filling them up with wax oil just to make sure they're not going anywhere. Welded some bits of angle on, you can see there, which lines up with the body. They're not too bad to set up. Put them symmetrical, measure from both sides. I bolt the angle onto the truck, the straight edge across the top onto the existing members, line them up, and then just tack them in. I did interesting point I found out today is that the people who made the body originally actually haven't got it completely square. Well, not so much out of square, but it would appear that the passenger side here is actually 10mm wider than the driver's side, which is not a big deal, so it doesn't really matter for what it is. It's not too bad in this plane. There's a tiny variation, but it's just a fraction too wide, so that's not really a problem. Just something I made a note of because I was somewhat scratching my head when I was setting the beam up, thinking, why is this not working out exactly? To ensure these run straight, I just run a straight edge along here, because obviously there's some flex in them. Just put a straight edge along the side, and that keeps it true. I know there's going to be a slight sort of variation once I've welded it back together, but it's not exactly, it hasn't got to be a show and shine job, it's more function than anything else. And when they made the beaver tail originally, not the beaver tail, sort of the drop tail or the slope, they actually cut it here and here and just kicked it down to weld it. I mean, it's pretty straight. I'm not going to get too worried about that, to be honest with you. I'd rather have it solid than 100% correct to the last millimetre. I'm sure at some point someone will come along to me and say, oh, did you know it's so, and I shall say, yes, whatever, I'm not that worried about it. It is still going strong after all these years, and hopefully will continue to do so for many more. Mechanically, this old girl is, the engine's totally original. I'm just trying to think. I've never had the head off. I've done the valve clearances a couple of times, and I do service it every 4,000 miles religiously. Other than that, and a few timing belts, the engine's totally original. I did overhaul the gearbox, as it's quite common with MT75 gearboxes for the bearings to get a bit rattly. They still rattle a bit after you put bearings in them, but it gives them a new lease of life. And I always change the gear oil in this frequently as well, at least every 4,000 miles. I know it's a little extreme, but for the price of the gear oil, I'd rather keep everything working properly and reliable. I do even do the diff oil actually, because although they're quite a robust old diff on these transits, they do suffer with bearing failure. That was pretty clean inside. It makes the usual whistling noises that all these transits make, but I do change the oil in it every year, and it seems to be holding up quite nicely. So everything else is in pretty good order, and I do keep on top of the old girl. It doesn't do a lot of work these days, but I do like to maintain it to a very high standard, and I know it'll get me where I want to go. It's the one you would trust to get you somewhere and know it's going to do the job. A few years ago, I actually put over 1,100 miles on this in 3 days. A trip to the top of Scotland and back, collect some parts for a project, and it never missed a beat. It was actually a good fun drive. Gave it a bit of welly up through some of the mountain roads up there, and it's probably driven in a manner you wouldn't expect it to be, but it was good fun. Still, that's progress for today, and my next exciting job this afternoon will be moving on, that's hidden out there, to attempting to remove some of the parts from that old body. Something I've been putting off all day, but I've come to a bit of a halt on this now. This needs to dry, and the beams or cross members I will paint tomorrow. And then I can get some blue paint on here, and then get this member back in to stabilise these sidebars. But I suppose I'm going to have to get on with it out there, because it's the one that's going to slow me up. Anyhow, hope you've enjoyed this little update on my sort of proceedings today on Operation Man v Rust, and I'm really pleased with progress. So I'll update you, hope maybe tomorrow or Monday, see how things are going. and we'll see how we're doing. Anyhow, please like and subscribe. It really does help my numbers. And thanks for watching, and bye for now.